All right, so moving on to the next segment. I'll be sharing my list, my own personal list of the biggest NBA draft steals of all time. This is my own personal list once again, but I have 5 players currently on my list of what I believe are the biggest draft steals in NBA history. In no particular order, I'll go over the 5 players that are on my list. So starting with player number 1 would be Jalen Brunson. I think Jalen Brunson is truly one of the biggest NBA draft steals of all time. And back in 2018, Jalen Brunson was a second-round pick in the 2018 NBA draft. Jalen Brunson actually played 3 years at the collegiate level, playing for Villanova, helped Villanova win 2 titles in the 3 years that he played at Villanova. He averaged 18 points per game his junior year, and I thought he was one of the best prospects to come out of college trying to play in the NBA, but was a second-round pick. And the Dallas Mavericks took a chance on him at the 33rd overall pick. And the Dallas Mavericks paired Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson together, playing at the guard positions for years in Dallas. And it ended up being a great thing because Jalen Brunson helped the Dallas Mavericks have success, get to the Western Conference Finals. But then I thought it was a head-scratching move when they decided to not re-sign Jalen Brunson a few years ago during free agency. Then he signed a big contract with the New York Knicks. A lot of people were thinking that Jalen Brunson deserved this big, massive contract, but he has not shown any reason why he doesn't deserve that big, massive contract. And he's been a baller in the Big Apple for the New York Knicks, a top 10 player in the NBA, one of the best clutch players that the league has to offer today, and just helped the New York Knicks get to the Eastern Conference Finals, the first time that they've done that in over 20 years. So Jalen Brunson is still showing us why he is one of the biggest draft steals, definitely in recent memory. But I think how Jalen Brunson's career is going to turn out, I think he's going to be an NBA champion. I think he has the potential to win an MVP one day. He's great offensively. A mid-range shot, can draw fouls, can draw contact, get to the free throw line. He's a clutch performer. I think Jalen Brunson, based off of what we've seen in his NBA career thus far, you have to consider him as one of the biggest draft steals of recent memory. But he makes my own personal list based off of the potential that I see Jalen Brunson could be in his NBA career when it's all said and done. The next player on my list would be Tony Parker. Now, in 2001, the NBA draft, a lot of franchises passed on Tony Parker, a foreign player playing overseas. A lot of people didn't see the potential in Tony Parker, and he ended up being a great NBA player, top 75 player of all time. And the Spurs cashed in on that 27th overall pick, a late first-round pick in the 2001 NBA draft, and the rest is history. He played 17 years with the San Antonio Spurs, and Greg Popovich saw the potential since day one when he told the front office to draft him. And the rest is history because they formed one of the best trios in NBA history with Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Tim Duncan. And Tony Parker helped the San Antonio Spurs win a total of 4 titles. Mind you, Tim Duncan won a title before Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker got to town, but still, they dominated the league, and Tony Parker had a tremendous basketball IQ. He was an effective point guard, a good shooter, and got his teammates involved. And the reason why it worked so much and so well is because they played unselfish basketball. The ball movement was tremendous over the years, and Tony Parker wasn't worried about padding up the stats. He was padding up the win columns, the wins in the playoffs, the rings that he puts on his fingers, being the NBA champion. And that's why it worked out so tremendously. So Tony Parker makes my list as one of the most underrated players. You can say he's one of the most underrated players of all time, but also one of the biggest draft steals based off the success that they had in San Antonio for years. So Tony Parker also makes my list. Now next is Draymond Green. Now, Draymond Green was the 35th overall pick in the 2012 NBA draft, and I honestly think he was one of the biggest draft steals of all time, and actually was supposed to be a top 10 prospect when he played at Michigan State, but for some reason was passed on and was a late or was a second-round pick in the 2012 NBA draft. And Draymond Green is one of the best defensive players of this generation. And yes, he's a controversial player that likes to put his hands on people and looks like a player that can translate and go to a combat sport, whether that's MMA or boxing. But all jokes aside, Draymond Green has contributed when asked offensively. He's a great rebounder, great defender, and I know Steph Curry is a point guard, but Steph Curry is more known as a shooter than getting his teammates involved. And Draymond Green has really taken that role since he's been in the lineup for the Golden State Warriors, and he's helped contribute to one of the greatest dynasties of all time, winning 4 NBA titles with the Golden State Warriors. And honestly, I think a lot of people are going to want to piggyback off of what Draymond Green has become as a player. Besides the controversial part, being a team leader, doing the dirty work, not being known for points, but contributing in other ways, being that leader, holding players accountable, playing great defense, getting the great defensive rebounds. Former Defensive Player of the Year, mind you, and he's an 8-time NBA all defensive team, all known for being an 8-time being a part of the all defensive team 8 times in his NBA career. It's like a tongue tie, but again, controversial player. But you gotta say he's one of the biggest draft steals of all time, because without Draymond, I know they had Steph Curry, I know they had Klay Thompson, but if you don't rig the system and bring in Kevin Durant, without Draymond, does Steph Curry get those 4 rings? Does Klay Thompson get those 4 rings? Does Steve Kerr get those 4 rings? Did they ever bounce back of what happened to them being 73-9 and blowing a 3-1 lead in the 2016 NBA Finals? We'll never know, because at the end of the day, out of all the special plays that they had during that dynasty run, Draymond Green did the dirty work and held the players accountable. And based off of what he's done, I have to say he's one of the biggest draft steals of all time. Now, the next player on the list is Kobe Bryant. Now, Kobe Bryant was the 13th overall pick in the 1996 NBA draft, and Kobe Bryant was actually supposed to be he actually was one of the best prospects in the 1996 NBA draft, but 12 NBA franchises skipped on Kobe Bryant due to the fact that he was coming out of high school. He was very young. Youth was not on his side for a lot of teams that thought he would take years to mature and be a great player in the NBA. Therefore, he fell to the 13th overall pick in the 1996 NBA draft. And when you think about it, he was actually drafted by the Charlotte Hornets and never got to make his Charlotte Hornets debut. And he was actually shipped out and traded to the Los Angeles Lakers before the season began. So that obviously turned out to be one of the biggest mistakes of all time for a lackluster franchise all time. The Charlotte Hornets that really have never smelt success in the NBA. Kobe Bryant, meanwhile, went to LA and helped a historic franchise become even greater, because Kobe Bryant became a 5-time NBA champion, former MVP of the league, 2-time NBA Finals MVP, and he became one of the greatest shooting guards of all time, one of the greatest scorers of all time. Kobe Bryant impacted the Los Angeles Lakers in ways that we'll never truly understand if you weren't a part of the franchise. Or his player growth was tremendous, and long live Kobe Bryant. But you gotta say that based off the turn of events, you gotta say he's one of the biggest draft steals of all time. And it became one of the most silly mistakes of all time that the Charlotte Hornets never even gave Kobe Bryant a shot when he was truly one of the biggest prospects and one of the best prospects in the 96 draft. But it never materialized and never believed in Kobe. So I think he makes the list as well. And last but not least, on my list will be Nikola Jokic. Now, Nikola Jokic was actually drafted 41st overall in the 2014 NBA draft by the Denver Nuggets during a Taco Bell commercial, which is wild and bizarre, because Nikola Jokic is the best basketball player on the planet today. And he's a former NBA champion, former Finals MVP, 3-time MVP, and he's one of the greatest scorers, rebounders, and playmakers, getting his teammates involved, piling up the assist, a triple-double king in his own right. He's one of the greatest players of all time, already a top 10 big man of all time. So the fact that he was drafted late in the second round in 2014 during a Taco Bell commercial is crazy. And he helped turn around this Denver Nuggets franchise for the better, and helped them win their first NBA title in 2023. And they've been a contending team ever since. He's been growing and developing as one of the best players. And now he's the best player in the league and already known as one of the best big men of all time. So Nikola Jokic, I think, is definitely one of the biggest draft steals of all time. And that's my list, my own personal list of the biggest draft steals in NBA history.